infectious diseases have killed more people than other causes throughout history. The present pandemic of COVID-19 has again revealed how unsafe we remain. In the past 2 years, we live these days in a tough period as the result of a spread of coronavirus. One of the reasons why men are having their challenging days is they have to go through quarantine for months. Quarantine and isolation are two strategies that can help to reduce the effect of coronavirus. The Quran and Sunnah are the fundamental sources that reference in Islam for the laws and principles that guide Muslim everyday lives, and from which policy and recommendation for solution, including those to contemporary social and health challenges, can be formed. Muslims believe that adhering to Islamic teaching and what the Prophet Muhammad suggests 1,400 years ago is quarantine. Quarantine is considered the only way to prevent the disease from spreading. The author of this article was prompted to create this study paper of Corona latest pandemic, and it links to Islamic law, which is Sharia, and what the Prophet of Islam made explicit than 1,400 years ago by Prophet Muhammad following declaration via the Prophet Muhammad to create over 1,000 explanations to help a man during his limited stay in the earth. Since man needs to remain well liberated from disorder to satisfy his short mission on earth.
The goal of this research is to examine the suggestion for limiting the development of the COVID-19 epidemic based on Islamic law, as well as how community participation may contribute to Muslim empowerment. The conceptual content analysis approach, which is considered a qualitative analytical method, was employed in this study. This method is used to focus on interpreting and understanding more, as well as gaining a better understanding of the subject matter discussed, namely the recommendation to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic based on Islamic jurisprudence and how community engagement can lead to Muslim empowerment. Furthermore, the information in this study was collected from a range of papers and websites. It was being read and selected in order to decide which sections may be utilized as a source of reference for the situation at hand. It also looks back until the Prophet's time, indicating that it is ideal for analyzing historical data, primary sources information about issues of the time. After being cautioned that every illness has a cure, the Prophet Muhammad SAW advised about how to cope with the epidemic, saying that if it falls on land where you are, do not go out of it to escape from it. And if it falls on ground where you are not, do not come down on it.
Aligned with the aim of the study, we discovered a few recommendations to minimize the spread of COVID-19 pandemic based on Islamic jurisprudence, as well as how the community engagement could lead to the empowerment of Muslims. Firstly is seeking treatment. One of the objectives of Maqasid Sharia is to preserve life. The Prophet encouraged his companions to cherish their health and life, and also instructed the patient to seek for medical care and said that he is wrong if he let it be and dealt with it carelessly. Seeking treatment increases our chances of recovering from the disease, thus minimizing the spread of COVID-19 virus. Secondly is great care for hygiene. This COVID-19 pandemic encouraged us to follow the examples of the Prophet, who covered his face with his hand or garments while sneezing, and also washed his hands before and after eating or drinking. In addition, we can see that these examples are recommended by the World Health Organization. This shows that hygiene care is effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19 virus. Thirdly, quarantine, avoiding crowded places and social distancing. There is a hadith that recommended us to quarantine and avoid going to crowded places when there is a pandemic such as COVID-19 pandemic. We must refrain from going to public places so that there is less chance of spreading the disease among people. Another recommendation is social distancing, which can be seen from a hadith that shows us the way the Prophet accepted a leprous man's pledge from a distance. By doing so, the spread of the disease can be hindered as there is no physical contact. These recommendations will not be effective without community engagement. Preventing the spread of COVID-19 virus will help us overcome the pandemic so that we can participate in Islamic activities, whether in religious, education, or economic activities, which can develop the society and economy. Ultimately, the developed society and economy is what leads to the empowerment of Muslims.
This mini review aims to show how the methods and technique for dealing with the COVID-19 epidemic from a Sharia perspective. In this article, the author discussed the patient's and doctor's responsibility in such a scenario and other alignments. Not only that, but the author also addressed the cause and symptom of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as how it may be spread, prevented, and cured by the following and sticking to the Islamic religion instructions, as well as using the Holy Quran verses and the Prophet's words. As a result, as they read the paper, reader will have a better understanding. While the writer's clarity in expressing his argument has improved throughout writing, numerous paragraphs seem to have been reduced and abridged to grasp the information better. The author keeps repeating the same sentence throughout the discussion, which is, if you heard a plague throughout in a nation, do not enter it. If a plague break out in a location while you are there, do not leave it. Not only that, but there seems to be a duplicate on the Maqasid Sharia element explanation. Not to say that the debate is pointless or unimportant. In fact, all of the mentioned ideas are useful in constructions a more persuasive argument on the Islamic stand on the COVID-19 epidemics. Instead, they are developed in a convolute style that may easily distract the reader's focus and attention away from the paper's primary goals. In addition, the writer's habits of including their different intention for each critical point may overwhelm readers by the quantity of information they must absorb. Consequently, reader may need to read the article many times to grasp the information truly. The lack of accuracy is another flaw found in the study. As a result, explicit use of language is essential for academic writing to be exact, and certain complex concepts should occasionally be defined in context before being used. For example, unfamiliar words to a non-expert should be explained in more detail. Epidemiological studies in the literature seems to be very sophisticated medical jargon in this section, making the readers question what they imply. All of these words, in our opinion, should be provided with their complete definition to help the readers have a better knowledge of the issue at hand, or the author might provide a primary connotation for those phrases. The author's choice of term proved that the study lacked in accuracy. Some of the terms used in this paper are unfamiliar to the beginners and students. For example, instead of using the word serious or critical, the author used the term acute. While utilizing unusual terms might help readers to expand their vocabulary, might have also get a different perceptions.
All in all, according to all articles that have been reviewed, it was found that the empowerment of Muslims through community engagement can minimize the spread of COVID-19 based on the teachings of Islam. These articles can be related in terms of the adherence to the quarantine that has been ruled by the government to reduce contagiousness by abiding the regulations and standing operating procedure SOP. For instance, Movement Control Order MCO, Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO, and Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO. It is forthwith abiding the hadith of Prophet Muhammad SAW during the epidemic happens 14 centuries ago. If you hear an outbreak of plague in a land, do not enter it. But if the plague outbreaks out in the place while you are in it, do not leave that place. When the Muslim hand in hand in helping the affected family during the COVID-19 pandemic, the spread of the COVID-19 can be reduced as there is no direct contact by the patients with other things and other living things. The zero contact essence is also in line with the sayings of Prophet Muhammad SAW, flee the leper as you flee from the lion. It can be the most simple deeds, such as giving the affected family foods, groceries, and other necessities by putting them in front of their door without any direct contact. Unfortunately, the Muslims cannot perform the congregational prayer as usual. There are several rules that need to be followed, such as they must bring their own prayer mat and telekong for the Muslimah to make sure the hygiene is protected. The congregational prayer needs to be performed with the standard operation procedure SOP by making sure there is 1 meter social distance between each and every jama'ah. However, it does not forbid the Muslims around the world to engage with each other by giving moral support, staying positive, and believing in Allah's plan. Prophet Muhammad SAW has mentioned that there is no disease that Allah has created except that He also created its treatment. Thus, we only have to believe in Allah in everything that He has planned, and we only have each other during this pandemic. So the Muslims need to stay together and fight the virus. So do not be selfish and only think about yourself, but think about others' well-being also.